Ladies, pardon me, ladies. Excuse me.
Watch out. Here I come. Whoa.
Hey, hello, ladies. Come on, man.
When I squeeze
I've been here before. What's going on?
Are you all right? Are you everything going to work for you?
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't even ask. I don't know.
You're not getting my
What am I doing? What's going on?
I said, how much of that Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson madness filters down to the cameraman level?
Those who
Can you hear me now?
participate, they can.
There we go. We're good. Thanks, Joe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? Jen and Lawson.
I think I can speak for
1,
New
2,
York.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Does Hannity
Perfect,
come out of
thanks.
New York or Washington? Same with Carlson? He's DC?
Okay. Perfect.
And Bayer comes out of New York or Washington?
Brett show? DC. You got Brett there. Then you go
Chris Wallace.
Mark McConnell up in New York. Then Tucker's out of DC. Hanley's out of New York. Then you got Laura Ingram show out of DC. And Shannon Reed show's out of DC.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's a lot of stuff coming out.
Hour-long
Is that good?
programs. I think Ingram's show, they homegrown performers to New York.
And switch it out of New York.
Brett show is just out of DC.
You had any studio people?
Yeah. Right now, they're all man cameras, but they got robotics coming in.
What about directors? Do you need directors?
Yeah, DC.
But do you need them?
Do we need them? You know, I know very little about inside stuff, but I would say sure, we always look into it. I mean, the guy who does Brett's show right now, he's fine. The guy who does Chris Wallace's show, he's good. Not to say, no, it wasn't somebody.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, Brooke, that was really the question on everyone's mind. It was a weekend of all caps tweeting from President Trump, who tweeted dozens of times in just the last 24 hours alone, especially over the weekend while he was at his golf club in Bedminster. But that remark from the president in all caps directed at Iran came after the Iranian president issued a statement and remarks saying essentially that any war and any conflict between the United States and Iran would be the war to end all wars, essentially. Very strong language coming from him. And of course, Brooke, this all comes, you can't ignore the backdrop of in May, the United States withdrew from the Iran deal. That meant immediately those tough sanctions were going to be reimposed. We are just weeks away from some very strict banking sanctions being reimposed. And then in November, there will be much tougher sanctions as well. So keep in mind that is all the backdrop. But the president's tweet specifically came after his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, delivered a very harsh statement directed at Iran saying this. So, Brooke. So, Brooke, between that language from Pompeo, a statement from the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, essentially saying what the president said on Twitter, and the president's all-caps tweet, you can bet that when Sarah Sanders comes out here to the press briefing room, she is certainly going to be asked about that language that so many people have drawn parallels between that and what the president was saying just 1 year ago, last summer, about North Korea, with reference to that fire and fury remark. Now, she's going to be asked about that, as well as the president's other tweets this weekend, seeming to call into question essentially what the White House had him say last week was that he agreed with the intelligence community's assessment that Russia did interfere in the election. He simply seemed to backtrack on that all weekend, calling for an investigation, an end to the investigation just this morning to the investigation into Russian interference in the election. So certainly nothing short to ask Sarah Sanders about today when she walks out here, Brooke.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion with the last job that happened. The president, after we speak about that, he said, look, that's what we about and that he is Slider looked at that discussion. He, by his own report, did not do a great job of it. He did a great job of it.
That looks great over there. The seats. Good about to say. I've heard a little bit.
And when they turned off the lights, they turned off the phone. Everybody over
That's the one. but it's still.
Perhaps you should last shot and lock it down. It is kind of like Neil. Very good time. I'm considering committing crimes. If I'm here, Neil's got to go. Have you seen the rapper? Or what else you?
No. Never looked.
Impressive. Perfection in everybody. Look like 12-year school. How far do you untouched by
The palette is a fine palette. It's great.
I would imagine yours are quite the same. I don't have time for that. I'm here.
Who's doing head on?
I don't say anybody. Twilight Zone, man. It's been 20 years since you said that?
The DeLorean's that side.
The DeLorean.
Steve never left.
Terry, how long has it been since you've been a regular person on the
Oh my goodness. Almost 13 years.
13 years?
London the past 5 years.
We'll suck you right back in.
I violated my parole.
Surprising, it is not new that the president supported him. It's not because we didn't support him, that is just something that benefited Donald Trump.
We're here all the time. We go to take
Everything's operating a year and a half ago. So what is perhaps most interesting out of some of that is the way that that dynamic plays out, not necessarily here is it relates to the West Wing of Washington and Donald Trump, but as it plays out to people like Heidi Heitkamp, for example, from North Dakota. The reason that Alex was there talking with some of those voters, how some of these vulnerable red state Democrats navigate the Donald Trump current, if you will, is we get closer and closer to Michigan.
Sad but true. Very sad, sad tale. 16 minutes. Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
No, not good?
No, I thought we did. It's more propaganda. Hey, Allie?
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's sweet.
West Virginia showcasing the pepperoni roll, which I grew up on. Which is why I because exactly.
I was at his house last week. Doing good. Brand new house. Brand new community. 3 houses are moved in.
Does that make sense for mom and dad to do?
That's the address, but I don't know what. But it was a long beach.
It's a 222. And we do a raffle downstairs in Fox. Yes, it's 222. It's the actual time that we last about 17 days. How you doing? That's what we do. 17 minutes, get you to 240.
No, he's not working on the field.
Bro.
He's I think he's either 57 or 58.
He probably doesn't even have to get the extension yet.
He's getting it, but he's not, he's just waiting for Social Security. Plus they sold the house in Virginia. He just lived right down there.
He cashed it out.
Yeah. The house is down there.
Yeah, my aunt sold Stanford house in Austin, Texas.
See?
Yeah, she only got like 200,000 for her house in El Paso. It's already almost 80, so it's like house is
His wife was got a pension. Yeah. She was some sort of lawyer type. Yeah, maybe, yeah. So far he's, yeah. So that's good about here.
Oh, yeah?
Cash in your business.
So we can't do both? No, yeah.
Let's see what y'all do.
Well, my heart's in Wisconsin. So she's
They didn't know, so it's not.
Our Lady, she's cool.
No, they came from earlier.
What do we got? Beef jerky.
What's Cedar? What's California?
That's favorite is the giant. It's impossible to be sitting excited. They're bringing their stuff. I'm glad not even touching this camera. You know?
How about me?
Actually, when I grow up, I want to try and gain, you know that?
Doesn't matter.
So you could go get that pedicure we're talking about.
I know. God knows what happens after the day.
And the utility, I guess.
Perhaps. Maybe.
One time I came in here for 11:30 pedicure,
What time did the return happen?
3 days later,
Wow.
pristine.
That's a hell of a tip.
Pristine.
That's a tip and a half. That is. We moved in. Must have moved in for the weekend. We'll see. You showed up Friday, he didn't show up until Tuesday. So you know it's the weekend. Just in time to leave for the weekend.
On her way.
You speak with a brother?
She's on her way to work. On her way to work.
Oh, boy. I told John this really turns out.
That's all going on.
I think Edinburgh is great. I lived in London for 5 years, and we much prefer the Scots. Maybe there's not enough people around. But just the schools are great. It's not as open as we are, certainly. Exactly. I remember meeting a guy in Edinburgh.
Such a student. I'm trying to get my daughter
I don't like to look at it. And then you used I don't know.
Are you still on there? Are you still on the
I don't know how to. It was, yeah. I mean, it's not bad.
My scenario,
Like with my.
one of the bars, and there's nowhere between the bar and the elevator.
Any company,
If that's the scenario.
Yeah.
you, the bartender, no one goes around,
Walk through a private lobby, the view lounge, out there.
like you're on a boat, like you're on a boat table.
How many of you guys were out there?
The shame of it.
I don't know.
I guess that could happen.
That was the best thing that's happened. I don't know, they're laughing.
No,
Good afternoon. In the 2 weeks since President Trump nominated Judge Kavanaugh, he has met with 23 senators. Unfortunately, all of them are Republicans. That's because Senator Schumer is encouraging his members to not even meet with the judge. For members of the opposing party to demand answers to questions and yet refuse to even meet with a qualified Supreme Court nominee is unprecedented. Senator Schumer should stop these political games and meet with Judge Kavanaugh. We welcome Senate Democrats who take their constitutional duty of advise and consent seriously. Judge Kavanaugh stands ready to meet with members of both parties. As you know, here in a few minutes, the President will be participating in an event, and we're excited to hold the 2018 Made in America Product Showcase here at the White House. The President is committed to policies that ensure more products are made in America. Today we will see items like snowboards made by Never Summer Industries in Colorado, campers made by the Newmore Corporation in Indiana, an F-150 truck made by the Ford Motor Company in Michigan, and baseball bats made by BWP Bats in Pennsylvania. And a personal favorite, Ranger boats from Flippin, Arkansas is also here. The President celebrates every state's effort and commitment to American-made products, and he is honored to have these companies here today. And we look forward to having you all join us at that event here shortly. And with that, we'll hurry and jump into questions. Kevin.
Sarah, thanks. Is the President considering the Republican House intel request to declassify key sections of the records with respect to that FISA document release? And will he do that declassification before the House goes into recess at the end?
The President has purposefully remained uninvolved in this process. He said repeatedly that he wants the Department of Justice to be fully transparent with these requests from Congress, and he's going to continue at this point to remain uninvolved. However, he sees more and more every single day that this is proving further and further to be a total witch hunt, particularly because it was based on a false and unverified and discredited dossier. Steve?
Sir, we saw the President's tweet on Iran last night. What prompted him to use such strong language on them?
The President's been, I think, pretty strong since day one in his language towards Iran. He was responding to comments made from them, and he's going to continue to focus on the safety and security of American people.
What would it take to have direct negotiations between the President and President Rouhani?
I'm not going to get into specifics and certainly not negotiate with the press. That would be a determination that the President would make on what that looks like. But the ultimate goal and the focus of the President is making sure that we keep nuclear weapons out of their hands and that we focus on the protection of Americans.
Sarah, the President tweeted yesterday that Russia's election interference was all a big hoax. Those are the words he used. But last week he said he had full faith in the U.S. intelligence agencies. So does he believe the interference was a big hoax, or does he have faith in the intelligence agencies that have concluded definitively the other way, that Russia did in fact.
As the president has said many times and stated it over and over again, as have I, as a number of other administration officials, we maintain that Russia interfered in the elections. The president, however, very much so, and has repeatedly, as again have the rest of us, that his campaign colluding in that process is a total hoax, and we still hold strong to that.
The tweet suggested overall that it was a hoax, though.
The president is referencing the collusion component. Once again, the president has faith in the intelligence that suggests and maintain that Russia was involved in the elections. However, it's also important that same information concludes that it had no impact on the election, and that the president, again, would like to repeat that there was no collusion. John?
Thank you, sir. Sort of following up on that question, the president has very forcefully spoken out against Iran. He's very forcefully spoken out against North Korea. He has said that he will forcefully speak out against any threat to the United States. Russian election interference is a threat to our democracy. Why will he not forcefully denounce that?
The president has been incredibly tough on Russia. He's brought it up directly to him in person every single time that they have met. He has put unprecedented sanctions and been extremely tough on Russia across a number of fronts, which we've addressed here many times before. Frankly, I'm not sure why that is so hard for the media to write about. We've repeated it time and time again. The policy that the president has been since day one in office has been extremely tough on Russia, probably more so than with any other country. John?
Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Senator Rand Paul today made a strong attempt to vitiate the credibility of former CIA Director John Brennan, saying that he's, and I quote, monetizing his security clearance and that it should be removed from him. He even called on the president to do this. Will the president consider Senator Paul's suggestion and call for the removal of former Director Brennan's security clearance?
Not only is the president looking to take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe. The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances. Making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia or being influenced by Russia against the president is extremely inappropriate, and the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
Follow-up question to Steve first. When the president pulled out of the JCPOA, he did not reveal an alternate plan to address Iran's nuclear ambitions. He seemed to bank on economic sanctions being enough to get them back to the table. Is that still his plan B?
Look, as we have said, the president's number one goal is to make sure Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. We have similar and shared interests with our European allies. We're continuing to have discussions with them, and when we have specifics on that front, we'll let you know.
About Russia, Sarah. Sarah, my question was a follow-up, but my question about Russia is that, President Trump continues to air his grievances about the coverage of his meeting with Vladimir Putin.
Because you guys continue to obsessively cover it.
But we can't really, because it's been 7 days. We have not received a readout. We have not received any specific details about agreements that were reached, whether formally or verbally. So when can we expect that? And by the way,
the only specific agreement that was made was that the two national security teams from both the United States and Russia would continue at a working level these discussions. I can tell you that Ambassador Bolton plans to have a meeting, a follow-up with his counterpart from Russia next month, in addition to meetings with other European allies to further those discussions, and we'll keep you posted when we have specific details on what that meeting looks like.
Sarah, so does President Trump plan on ordering to move any carriers or additional military resources to the region should Iran continue to pose the threat that he alluded to in his tweet? And I also have a follow-up.
I don't have any specific announcements on that at this
Just
point.
a follow-up then. Secretary of State Pompeo yesterday talked a lot about corruption and human rights abuses in Iran. why is he zeroing in, why is the administration zeroing in on Iran when a number of other states are guilty of the same transgressions, including Russia, which we are now warming up to?
Again, we've had tough conversations with Russia. We've been tough on them with our policy. As I stated this morning, we can be tough on more than one country at a time, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Thanks, Sarah. Could you explain a little bit of the threshold that the president has for taking away former official security clearance? Is it his position then that any former Obama administration official who holds clearance and just make political statements about him should have their clearance revoked? Or is it just limited to the names right now that you read?
As of right now, we are exploring the mechanism on those specific names. I'll keep you posted when there's further details.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. The language the president used in the tweet that he sent out last night was very similar to the language he used last August in New Jersey when he spoke of fire and fury being rained down on North Korea. And of course that led to a one-on-one meeting the president ultimately had with Kim Jong-un. Is the president open to diplomacy with Iran, meeting perhaps one-on-one with President Rouhani?
I'm not going to negotiate what the specifics that the president or the administration will be looking at. Again, our goal is to stop Iran from nuclear weapons, and we'll keep you posted as we move through that process.
I asked about your statement regarding Judge Kavanaugh that you made at the very top. There's one Republican senator who says he's undecided. Well, there's a few that say there's undecided, but Rand Paul in particular says I'm honestly undecided. I'm very concerned about his position on privacy and the Fourth Amendment. Are you concerned about losing Rand Paul once this vote for Judge Kavanaugh ultimately gets to the floor?
We're certainly hopeful that Senator Paul will do the right thing and vote for this very highly qualified nominee. Steve?
Yes, Sarah, flipping around John's question about Iran, considering the comments that we've heard in the past day from the president's tweet, Ambassador Bolton's statement, which you put out in Secretary Pompeo's speech last night, what is stopping this administration from just openly advocating regime change in Iran?
Again, our focus is on stopping Iran from having nuclear weapons, regardless of who is there. That's what our priority is, and if we have any further announcements on that front, I'll let you know. But the president and his administration are going to continue pushing and advocating for that.
Sarah, regarding one of the stories that broke on Friday, how did the president feel when he found out that his longtime lawyer and fixer had recorded him surreptitiously?
While the president maintains that he's done nothing wrong on this specific topic, I'd refer you to the president's outside counsel.
And still deny that he ever had a relationship with a woman named Karen McDougal.
Once again, the president maintains that he's done nothing wrong, and I would refer you to Rudy Giuliani for all questions on that matter.
Sarah, I just wanted to follow up first on this statement you made about Brennan and his security clearance. Are you considering any additional actions against Brennan and the other names you read off? In addition to revoking their security clearance, is there any other action under review?
Not that I'm aware of.
And then to go back real quick to the Russia investigation. So the FISA application on Carter Page states that he is a Russian agent involved in clandestine activities. Given that the president continues to say there was no collusion between his campaign and Russia, is he concerned, or does he not believe the intelligence community's assessment that Carter Page was a Russian agent?
Again, I think that we've spoken extensively what our position is on this, and we have no changes to that.
So the president is threatening to punish Brennan and Comey and Clapper for saying things about him that he doesn't like. Is that presidential?
The president is exploring these mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases actually monetized their public service and their security clearances, and making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia or being influenced by Russia against the president is extremely inappropriate. The president contends that the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
So
when we have further updates on that front, I'll certainly let
free
you know.
speech he doesn't like, and he wants to punish them for it.
No, I think you are creating your own story there. The president doesn't like the fact that people are politicizing agencies and departments that are specifically meant to not be political and not meant to be monetized off of security clearances.
Sarah, a separate question after, but to follow up on that,
Isn't the president doing exactly what you just said the president doesn't want all these people doing? Politicizing matters of national security by going after his political enemies?
No, the president's not making baseless accusations of improper contact with a foreign government and accusing the president of the United States of treasonous activity when you have the highest level of security clearance, when you're the person that holds the nation's deepest, most sacred secrets at your hands, and you go out and you make false accusations against the president of the United States. He thinks that is a something to be very concerned with, and we're exploring what those options are and what that looks like.
The other topic, Sarah, was actually on the message to...
Sorry, I gotta keep moving just because we're running out of time.
Question,
Caitlin,
the
go
president's
ahead.
message to Paul
Sorry,
Manafort.
Hallie,
Does
I
he
got
have
about
one?
2 more questions left. Caitlin, go ahead.
The president's message to Paul Manafort, Sarah, does he have one?
Not that I'm aware of. Caitlin, go ahead.
When is the president going to make this decision on those security clearances?
I said when we have an update, we will let you know.
Okay, so my
Last question, David.
question, that was just a follow-up on that. My question, has the president, since you didn't answer if he's briefed, since they haven't briefed reporters on what went down during the 2-hour meeting
We
between
actually had a
President
press
Trump?
conference. The president's done a number of interviews. We've actually put out quite a bit of information following that meeting.
My question is not about the press, but has the president briefed his national security advisor, his secretary of state, the director of national intelligence, and the defense secretary on what exactly was said between him and President Putin?
The president has met and spoken with all of those individuals since his meeting with President
And
Putin.
when he briefs them, is he relying solely on his own memory to tell them what happened during that 2-hour meeting?
The president has met and consulted with all of his national security team, and we feel very confident in those.
It's on what he remembers that happened. It's not.
Caitlin, I'm not
notes
going
he
to go
took
into
or-
the specific details on how the president interacts every single time with his national security team.
Well, this is a rarity,
But
though. It's a sit down with the Russian president.
it's actually
for 2
not a
hours
rarity. It's
one-on-one.
a normal practice for 2 world leaders to be able to have a conversation with one another.
president of Russia
David,
was
go
having
ahead.
American
What about What about President Obama and Vice President Biden? And their security clearances, are they on the list as well?
I'm not aware of any plans for that at this point. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you on the South Lawn.
Great question, David. That was great.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network for the White House press briefing you just saw, led by Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. I'm going to kind of go through some of the highlights of that, some of the main questions that were asked and her responses. And we don't have too much time because pretty soon, in just a few minutes actually, President Trump is holding a Made in America event where he has invited retailers and manufacturers from all around the country who have created products specifically in America, produced and made in America, and they're showcasing them and discussing them at the White House. So that is going to be very exciting. Stay tuned for that. And of course, it has been great seeing all of your comments right here in the chat room, and I will be checking Facebook and Twitter as well. So if you have any comments, questions that you would like to share with me there, please post them and I will definitely get back to you. So first, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders opened discussing how they're trying to get Judge Kavanaugh confirmed, and he's met with 23 Republican senators, but unfortunately no Democrats yet, because Minority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer is encouraging his senators to not even meet with Judge Kavanaugh. So just trying to delay the process, and that's very frustrating. Of course, Judge Kavanaugh is ready to meet with both parties, and so she encouraged the Democratic senators to stop doing this so that they can just meet with Judge Kavanaugh and get the ball rolling. And then she introduced the event that I just told you guys about, where President Trump will be hosting the Made in America event, because he's very committed to making sure more products are made in America. Now, a reporter asked if the president is considering the Republican request for documents, and Secretary Sanders said that the president has remained uninvolved and wants the DOJ to be involved with this, and that he sees it as a total witch hunt because of an uncredited dossier. And then another reporter asked what it would take for direct negotiations with the president, talking about just with Iran and all that went on. And Sarah Sanders said that the main goal right now is just keeping nuclear weapons out of their hands. And another reporter asked about Russian interference and if it is a big hoax, as President Trump recently said in his tweet, or if he does have faith in our intelligence agency. And Sarah, Press Secretary Sanders said Russia did interfere, but his campaign colluding is a hoax. And so that is what he was referring to, that any collusion between his campaign and Russia was a hoax and not the investigation overall. And she said that he does have faith in the Intelligence Committee. And then another reporter asked about Senator Rand Paul just making a strong attempt to discredit former CIA Director John Brennan, and asked if the president will consider the removal of Brennan's security clearance. And she said, yes, he is, and also Comey, Clapper, and McCabe, along with a couple others. And she said that the president's #1 goal is to make sure Iran does not get a nuclear weapon, in another question. And she said the only agreement that was made was that the national security of U.S. and Russia would continue these discussions when she was talking about President Trump and President Putin's summit that they recently held just last week, because, days later, of course, people are still asking for those transcripts and the record of their conversation, which has not been released. And then a reporter talked about how Secretary Pompeo talked about corruption and human rights issues in Iran recently. And the reporter asked, why is he focusing on Iran? Why wasn't he focusing on Russia, where there were lots of human rights issues and corruption as well? And she said that we can be tough on more than one country at a time, and that's what we're doing. And then another reporter asked, is the president open to diplomacy with Iran? And she said, I can't share that, but our goal is to stop nuclear weapons in Iran. And she just kept saying that. And then another reporter asked, how did the president feel when his longtime lawyer and fixer was recording him talking about his former lawyer, Cohen, talking about the relations that he supposedly had with Karen McDougal. And she said that she would refer everyone to his current lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, for all questions on that matter. And then another reporter asked towards the end, when is the president going to make a decision on the security clearance? And she said it is not said yet, so we will have to stay updated on that. And I'm going to check Twitter over here real quick, make sure you guys don't have any we are getting ready for the other event. I got one message on Twitter from Malik Gregerson. Hey Alyssa, thank you for covering the White House press briefings again. I missed that very much. I will bet you a dinner date the press questions will be about Russia. Yes, Malik, of course, some definitely were. They're not going to let go of that anytime soon.
And right now we're looking live on the Made in America product showcase at the White House that you will be seeing soon. So you can just see the people are filling in right here, but stay tuned because as it gets started, we will take you guys over to another stream, which will be titled Made in America. And right now we're looking live on so that you will be able to see that showcase at the White House that you will you can find it on our YouTube page right here. So you can just see the people are filling in right here, but on our website because as it gets started, we will take you guys over to another stream. So it should be a very excited event. And right now we're looking live. I'm very excited to see it, and I think that he just held one at the White House that you will find it on our YouTube right here. So you can just see the people are filling in right here on our website. As it gets started, we will take you guys over to another stream. So it should be very exciting. So this was actually right now a month ago. I'm very excited to see it. And able to see that he just held one at the White House that you will find on our YouTube right here. So this is all the people are from the White House website, our official website, whitehouse.gov. Take you guys over to another. So it should be very exciting. So July 18th, 2017. I'm very excited to see listed companies from across the country on the White House with an amazing product showcase. So this is all, and it was held in order to celebrate official website whitehouse.gov and highlight each state's take you guys over to another. So it's good. So I see us I'm very excited to see beautiful audio from across the check on that and fix that real quick. Product showcase. So this is all, and it was held in order to celebrate official website whitehouse.gov and highlight each state take you guys over to another. So it's good. So I see us I'm very excited to see beautiful audio from across the check on that and fix that real quick. Product showcase. So this is all, and it was held in order. Okay, it should be good now. But let me know. They were saying double audio, but I don't have anything else open, so I don't know why it would do that.
It's good over here.
Okay.
Speaking.
So like I said, President Trump hosted companies from across the country a year ago at the Made in America product showcase. And in order to celebrate and highlight each state's effort and commitment to American-made goods, businesses from each of the 50 states displayed their products made and produced in the United States. So leaders from each company showcased their unique businesses on the South Lawn and on the state floor of the White House, and products ranged from sandwiches to wool blankets to fire trucks, and each business was connected by the common thread of American excellence. Now, the president visited and talked to members from each company, assuring the interest and the workers in the United States would not be pushed aside for global projects. And under the leadership of President Trump, the American leader will be championed. Now, since his inauguration, President Trump has been fighting on behalf of American workers and families, and he signed the Buy American and Hire American executive order that targets the abusive use of waivers and exception to undermine Buy American laws that promote the allocation of taxpayer funds to American companies. And the order also takes steps to stop the abuse of the immigration system and protect American workers. Now, after visiting each display, President Trump addressed workers and business leaders attending the day's event in the East Room of the White House, and he actually recognized the vital contributions of American workers and job creators to our nation's prosperity. And the president also voiced his appreciation and attributed much of America's success to the determination and ingenuity of its entrepreneurs, workers, and farmers who drive our economy and support our military strength. And in a statement at the event, President Trump said, "We want to build, create, and grow more products in our country using American labor, American goods, and American grit. When we purchase products made in the USA, the profits stay here, the revenue stays here, and the jobs, maybe most importantly of all, they stay right here in the USA." And the president then signed a proclamation declaring July 17th Made in America Day and July 16th through 22nd as Made in America Week, calling upon Americans to pay a special tribute to all those who work every day to make America great. And you can see, he was calling Made in America Week July 16th, through July 22nd, and now we are having it a year and a day later on July 23rd again. And quoted here on the White House's official website, it says, "We will celebrate craftsmen, producers, and innovators like the incredible men and women in this room today. We will protect our workers, promote our industry, and be proud of our history because we will put America first." So it's going to be a fantastic event. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. We're expecting it to start any minute now, but remember to switch over to that news stream as soon as it does, and we will keep you guys updated. But I want to know, of course, if you guys have any questions as well, you can chat them to me right here or on our Twitter account. You can send them directly to my Twitter and I will see them as well. I see your comment, Aries Love. My name is Alyssa Ash. And he is not speaking yet. We are waiting to hear from him. But until we get there, I can update you guys. The president was very active on his Twitter this weekend with one that was very famous, of course, in retaliation to the Iranian president, Rouhani. He said in all caps, President Trump said, "Never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious." And he also tweeted out, "So we now find out that it was indeed the unverified and fake dirty dossier that was paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and that was knowingly and falsely submitted to FISA, and which was responsible for starting the totally conflicted and discredited Mueller witch hunt." And he also tweeted just an hour later, "It was classified to cover up misconduct by the FBI and Justice Department in misleading the court by using the dossier in a dishonest way to gain a warrant to target the Trump team. This is a Clinton campaign document. It was fraud and a hoax designed to target Trump and the DOJ. FBI and Obama gang need to be held account. Source number one was the major source. Avoid talking about it, being the Clinton campaign behind it, missiled the court to provide a pretext to spy," in all caps, "on the Trump team. Not about Carter Page, was all about getting Trump." And he just continued on to the next tweet. "Carter Page wasn't a spy, wasn't an agent of the Russians. He would have cooperated with the FBI. It was a fraud and a hoax designed to target Trump. Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch, a disgrace to America. They should drop the discredited Mueller witch hunt now. And so he gave Tom Fitton credit for all of that. And then he continued tweeting, and he said, just an hour later, when you hear the fake news talking negatively about my meeting with President Putin and that I gave up, remember, I gave up nothing. We merely talked about the future benefits for both countries. Also, we got along very well, which is a good thing, except for the corrupt media.
I'm just looking at this stream now, the White House stream, but so everybody do join us now.
Okay. So we are wrapping this stream up right now, as of course, as you know, the White House press briefing is over. But please join us on our new stream that we will be posting in just a minute.
We're already live on it.
We're already live on it, actually, with President Trump at the Made in America event. So check that out, and I will see you guys over there.